Good afternoon, and thank you all for joining me. Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you today convinced that the residents of Central Bucks are ready for a breath of fresh air. A breath of fresh air in the form of a new type of political representation, epitomized by one who is optimistic, energetic, and deeply committed to those principles on which our nation is founded. I hope to be this breath of fresh air, and it is with this in mind that I formally announce my candidacy for the Pennsylvania legislature. This announcement probably comes as no surprise. As you know, I've spent the last several years of my life working for good government on a local, state, and national level. In elections ranging from the courthouse to the White House, I've repeatedly rolled up my sleeves and worked for those who have strived to give Bucks County quality representation. My political activity began with my father's campaign for this seat in 1980. I'd like to think that I've come a long way since that election, a time in which I was lacking in political acumen. Since 1980, my involvement in Republican politics has included serving as a college Republican president, an assistant Republican committeeman in Doylestown Borough, a member of the Bucks County Republican Executive Committee for the 143rd District, the editor of a newsletter for active Bucks County Republicans, and as a member of Vice President George Bush's advance staff. I'm very proud of the fact that I was able to involve myself in local politics, travel the nation and the world planning the personal appearances of the Vice President, and still manage to graduate Phi Beta Kappa from Lehigh University. More recently, I represented Bucks County at the 1984 Republican National Convention in Dallas after being elected an alternate delegate, and I've just completed serving as an aide to Justice Bruce W. Kaufman, a member of the Philadelphia Special Investigation Commission, which looked into the May 13, 1985 Move tragedy. My unique political experiences, as well as a lifetime of Bucks County residency, have prepared me to serve in the Pennsylvania legislature. I'm ready for this job mentally and physically, and I'm ready to give Bucks County that breath of fresh air. Out of the multitude of issues that will be raised in the months ahead, I plan to place emphasis on the 3 E's: the economy, education, and the environment. As a licensed realtor, I've come to appreciate the day-to-day benefits of a strong economy, as well as the drawbacks of high inflation and unemployment. I've witnessed many periods of prosperity in our area, but I've also seen the disappointed faces of young couples who are locked in a circle of renting property with no apparent chance of home ownership. We need to assist future generations, and we can do so by keeping government out of the private sector. A strong economy is the result of an atmosphere of free enterprise. It's in such an atmosphere that small businesses are created and prosper, and I regard small businesses, as well as the entrepreneurs who start them, as the economic lifeblood of Pennsylvania. In Harrisburg, I will actively tend to the needs of the small business men and women of Central Bucks. As a product of the Central Bucks School District, I have also come to appreciate quality education. I believe that the legislature must do its part to ensure that communities across the state are able to provide quality education for their young people. This includes supporting efforts by local school districts to return to the basics of education. This also includes setting a proper framework for the resolution of labor disputes in public education. Since the passage of the Public Employees Relations Act in 1970, Pennsylvania has averaged a record number of school strikes. In an effort to halt this trend, I will actively explore legislative plans to modify Act 195. Finally, as an outdoorsman, I have a great affinity for the aesthetic charm and setting of Central Bucks. The charm and rolling farmlands of our area were largely responsible for attracting my family here close to 30 years ago. I believe that any further growth of our area should only come with great scrutiny and local control. While I don't wish to see others deprived in their search for our way of life, I know that we must not expand at the expense of the natural beauty of Bucks County. In an effort to maintain the character of our area, I will support special tax reduction plans that encourage farmers to keep their land in productive agriculture. My friends, I'm very anxious to go out and talk with our neighbors, and talk with them about my outlook for the future of Pennsylvania's economy, educational system, and environment. In closing, I can promise all of you many pleasant surprises in the weeks and months ahead. You will all be a part of the most sophisticated grassroots campaign in Bucks County history. I've been successful in attracting to my campaign not only active Republicans, but also Democrats and independents, many of whom have never before been politically active. My goal is to run a model campaign, a campaign that will display to the residents of Central Bucks the depth of my commitment to public service. Today I'm pleased that my good friend and my honorary chairman, the Honorable W. Thatcher Longstreth, has taken time out of his busy schedule to wish me well in the campaign. I'd like to give Councilman Longstreth the opportunity to say a few words, and then I'd gladly entertain your questions. Again, thank you all for joining me today.
Ladies and gentlemen, I came out here to make my first political speech in Bucks County back in 1956. And I wasn't an awful lot older than Mike at that stage of the game. And I've been coming here ever since because Bucks County is a part of the Penn-Jerdell region, which really makes this whole area click. To my way of thinking, it's the most exciting and will probably continue to be the fastest growing county in the lower part of Pennsylvania, and one of the fastest growing in the entire region, along with a couple of counties across the river. And as a consequence, if you love Philadelphia, you love the regions, because there is no real separation today. We live in a region that operates in an interconnected way to a much greater degree than ever before. And the opportunity to come out and to endorse and to express my own enthusiasm for a young man whom I personally admire enormously was something I just couldn't pass over. And I want to tell you something. I've been around for a while, and I've been involved in more campaigns than I've got hairs on my head. And I don't think I've ever seen anybody who combined, at his age, some of the extraordinary qualities of this young man. He's not just a youngster that is plunging into something without knowing what he's doing. He's worked for a period of about 10 years in every kind of campaign in this region that you can expect. Anybody who wears a Phi Beta Kappa key is, to my way of thinking, a very extraordinary young man. And above all, he seems to have an enthusiasm and an understanding of the needs of this part of the country to a degree that many of us who are much older and have been around a lot longer have not yet been able to attain. So the combination of my great interest in Bucks County and my feeling that you have just begun to reach out to areas of expansion and achievement that are almost limitless during the next 20 years or so, and the fact that with Mike Smerconish you have somebody who can grow along with you during that period of time just represented a combination I couldn't resist. So here I am today, and I would certainly express my hope that the wise voters, particularly Republican voters in this area, will see what I see in Mike, a very extraordinary possibility for a very extraordinary public servant over a period of a long time to come, I hope.
Thank you very much. I'd be happy to entertain any questions from members of the press who are with us today. Sure, Hal?
Do you plan to seek the Republican Party?
Absolutely. I think that I've established myself since 1980 and a little bit prior to that as one who has worked in the party trenches. I think that I've earned the respect of the rank and file committee people of Bucks County. I'm absolutely looking for their support, and I expect to receive it.
And if you don't?
If I don't receive it, I'm not quite sure what I would do. My inclination, Hal, is that I'm in this thing till the end. We're pretty far along as far as organization. You know, in my remarks, I promised to run a sophisticated grassroots campaign. We're doing exactly that. I think today the attendance here and the way that we've carried it out is evidence of that fact. It would be awfully difficult to turn back in March from going ahead to the ballot box. We're doing quite well organizationally, financially, and I'm pretty certain I'm in this till the end. Yes?
Mike, Joe McDermott.
I
You
see.
see, it's a pretty crowded field already. There's at least 3 people running and 1 Democrat. Do you see that as any problem to your campaign? To really
No, I don't, Joe, for this reason. I think that a crowded field makes it easier for myself to distinguish myself from the pack. I know all of my opponents. They're all nice men. I have nothing ill to say about them today, nor will I in the future. But I don't think that any of them can match my drive and willingness to work in order to capture this office. I expect to win by out-hustling any individual that should step out to run against me. Yes, sir.
Stanton of the Intelligencer. The incumbent parlayed the anti-pump movement into a pretty good political issue. What are your personal feelings?
Mr. Stanton, I sort of expected that question today. I voted no for yes pump in 1983, and I believe that I'm the only candidate to disclose voting for the project. I can't help but think, in light of the $2 million that has been spent trying to defeat the project, I can't help but think that my vote was not a prudent one. My feeling about this issue is generally I'm tired of it, and I think the voters are tired of it. We've seen over 500 public meetings about the project. We've commissioned over 30 studies of Point Pleasant. It's in our judicial system now, and I think that it's incumbent upon all of us, as residents of Central Bucks, to adhere to the court's decision, whatever it may be, about the future fate of the Point Pleasant pumping station. But I will not champion the dump the pump cause. Are there any other questions?
One more.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned the special tax legislation in favor of farm interests.
Yes, sir.
Would you go beyond what is presently on the books? Like
I don't know
Act
that
515?
I don't know that I would go beyond it. I guess my point was to echo my own personal support for programs such as Act 515. I'm a firm believer in the beauty of the open space that we have here in Bucks County. I think that we can preserve the quality of life that we have by keeping land use decisions in local hands. It's in line with my overall philosophy that government functions best on a localized level. And what I'd like to see is our land use decisions continue to be made on that local level. Yes, Al?
Do you have a preferred candidate in the 10th Senate District?
No, I'm sort of walking my own line here today. I've been laboring at this for really the last 10 years, as Councilman Longstreth had made reference to. I'm in it for looking out for number one this time. I've been working in the trenches, working the polls, raising money, holding coffees, knocking on door after door after door for various different candidates, and I think that finally it's time to take care of myself and to run for an office myself. I think I'm prepared to do it, and that's what I expect to do.
You don't have an endorsement to make in that?
I won't make any endorsement today or in the future. I have been a friend of Charlie Giroux's for a number of years. But again, I just have to reiterate that I'm going to pretty much stay out of that race and tend to the affairs of the 143rd District.
How old are you?
I'm 23. I'll be 24 when I assume the office. Are there any other questions? We were up late last night getting ready for all of them, so if not, thank you all very, very much for coming. It's going to be an exciting couple of months, and I'm happy to have you with me. Thanks again.